Hello. This video is going to just provide an overview of the Scratch project, or all the work that we're going to be doing in Scratch as part of EDT 520. This will just give a quick overview of the sequencing and the scope of the work and a little some tips and suggestions as we go along the way. So here in our Google Classroom starts off with just an overview of the project, and this is basically covers exactly what I'm going to talk about in this video. One of the more important things is the Scratch classroom registration link. You will need to connect to my classroom in Scratch so that you can submit assignments and so on. So if you follow that link, you will need to set up your own account in Scratch. It's free, it's pretty easy to do. The only thing that Scratch is sort of very picky about is when you're selecting a username that you not include sort of easily identifiable information in that name. So don't use your full name, don't use a school name, things like that. I do ask if you can incorporate your first and last initial into the username, just so that as I'm looking, I can easily identify who is who. So once you're in there, then you'll have access to everything in Scratch. It is a free platform. It is a very, by its core philosophy, is a very open platform. So every project that anybody has published in Scratch, you have access to. You can open them up. You can even remix them, which just means it basically makes a copy of that project for you, and you can then make changes to it. So they fully encourage people just kind of exploring and sharing what they've come up with. So anyways, once you are in, the next step is going to be to just take what I call a test drive. So just on your own, look through the platform, push buttons, do things. You can't really break anything. See what kind of a sense of the platform you can get on your own. See what you can find out, and just kind of explore it on your own. Once you have sort of completed that exploration, the first assignment for this part of the course is just a quick forum post where I just want you to post a paragraph or two about your initial thoughts of just sort of what you found out on your own. Did you find things that looked particularly interesting to you? Did you come across projects that maybe sort of sparked an idea or two, or whatever. It's just a chance for you to kind of reflect a little bit on your experience of taking a look at Scratch for probably the first time. I guess it's possible you may have worked with Scratch before, but probably not in this context. So that is step 2. So register for the class, spend some time exploring, and then do a post here on your thoughts of that Scratch drive, Scratch test drive. Then what we're going to do is walk through all of the various programming features of Scratch. I've broken it up into kind of 3 sub-lessons. And for each of these lessons, I start off with what I call a can you list. And what a can you list does is it just lays out, and it asks it as a series of questions. Can you do this? Can you do that? And for each of those items, I've provided links to tutorials and the help pages on Scratch for each of those programming blocks. So basically the idea is just to kind of walk through the can you list. I'll pull one up here so you can kind of see. So like this first one is how stuff looks. So you'll see, whoops, come back. So you'll see, a list of general things. Can you create a new project? Can you name a project? Can you save a project? And then there are links on how to do the various things as you go. And it kind of goes through all of that for this particular set of things. So this first one is going to focus just on sort of the basics, getting new projects set up in Scratch, and then just creating the visual elements, what they call sprites. So you'll be taking a look at those and how to create sprites, what they call costumes, some drawing tools, and things like that. So you'll work your way through. I do have a couple of videos here that are from previous classes where I go over all this information. So that'll be a way also to kind of walk through it with me as I show you on the screen what everything looks like and how it works. So just kind of work through that material until you get to a point where you feel like you're comfortable with everything in that part. And then each one is followed up with a mini project. And with the mini project, this is just a way to kind of checkpoint that you understand those various things that were gone over in the Can You list. Each one has a very detailed list of steps that you do. These are not designed to be overly creative. They're more about just, can you do this, do this, do this. So it's just a series of steps that you will walk through to complete a project in Scratch, to create a little project in Scratch. And when you're done, that will get shared to a studio in Scratch, which is their way of organizing content in a classroom. So when you submit or publish your project to the studio for this mini project, then I will be able to see it. There's no other paperwork you have to turn in. It's just the completed project. And I also do provide a sample, an example of what this mini project looks like completed, that you can also use to help you as you create your own. Make sure you don't remix my project for yours. You should be starting your projects from scratch, no pun intended. But this will be a way for you, if you can't quite understand what the directions are asking for, to see what's being asked. So there are 3 of these mini projects, or 3 of the Can You lists followed by a mini project. So the first one is basically on the way things look in Scratch. Then there's getting that stuff to move around on the screen. And then the final one is kind of the most abstract, getting into doing math and variables and things like that, which are very important for programming, but aren't quite as visual in nature. So that's the sort of the bulk of it, is getting through the 3 Can You lists and the 3 mini projects. And then once you've gotten through all that, you should have a pretty good handle on how Scratch works and what it can do. The full Scratch project, the interactive project, then is the final piece of the puzzle. I do want to point out that you might want to hold off doing this project until you have a pretty good idea of what your full game project is, only because the game project has a requirement for you to create some interactive elements as part of it using Scratch. So you can actually fulfill both requirements at one time. So rather than just creating something for this and then having to create something else for your game project, you might want to hold off until you know exactly what your game project's going to need. But basically, you're going to be creating one more Scratch thing. This will be some game element. So it could be dice, it could be a game spinner, it could be a card deck, it could be a game board with pieces that move around, or whatever. You're not creating an actual game. You're just creating something that could be used as your students play a game to help with that game. So for the project itself, there are a few requirements that need to be met with the project, and you will then be creating it. And there are 2 things that get submitted in the end. There is a planning document that you'll fill out, and it's located right here. Each of you will have your own copy of the document that you'll just fill in and submit when you're done. And then, of course, the other piece of it is the actual Scratch project that will be saved to a studio in our classroom, so that I can see those. So that is sort of the final element for this part of the course. So that is the overview for this thread. We also have the game project and the gamification project, and I'll go over those in separate videos. But this should give you a good overview of the sequencing and the scope of the work for this part of this course. Please contact me if you have any questions or concerns, but good luck, and hopefully you'll enjoy exploring Scratch and what it can do. It can be a lot of fun, very creative, and a great way to get introduced into computer programming. All right, that's it for now. Let me know how I can assist. Thank you.